Hi, welcome to Aquatic Australia. I'm your host Sharky Jones, and today we're going to talk about fish identification as a fun and interesting activity you can do underwater while diving. As divers, we're in a position to see changes, especially on sites that we dive repeatedly over time. Also, people protect what they love. This makes divers natural ambassadors for the aquatic environment. Knowing what we are seeing and recording it is a fun activity, but it can also be used to join in citizen science projects and to help conserve the seas we love. There are many such projects run through groups like Reef Check, PADI AWARE and others. So how do we go about learning to identify a fish out of the more than 20,000 fish species worldwide? It seems an impossible task. But if we simply break it down into small simple pieces and a few simple patterns, it's not too hard. First, we break down fish into only a few simple categories that we can easily learn. Then we learn to describe their markings in simple terms and note a few key identification features. We can then sketch a cartoon on a dive slate that lets us properly identify the fish later. The purpose of this video is to be a quick and simple introduction. You'll still want to use websites and fish books like those we'll link to, as well as course materials from your training agency if you're doing a course. We hope this video will introduce you to a fun activity that adds a new dimension to your diving, as well as show you how to simplify fish into simple, broad patterns, and to provide a resource for schools and dive training specialty courses that you might do. Let's start by talking about how we dive while fish spotting, because everything else comes second to good, safe and environmentally sound diving practices. 1. Don't chase fish. Try to be calm and observe. This can be easier said than done. 2. Don't surround a fish with divers or trap it in a corner. Try to allow the fish a route out, an escape route. This might not always be easy. In this shot, a small grey nurse shark comes into our space in a canyon, and it tries to push between us and the rock. And then it gets a little spooked when it realizes we're not moving out of its way like other fish do, and it's closer to us than it thought. Point 3. Don't be afraid. Most fish see you as just another big fish. There are a few fish to be cautious of, such as lionfish, stingrays, and in the tropics, titan triggerfish, but most fish are peaceful, including sharks most of the time. You have more to be worried about from boaters than from fish. 4. Always practice good buoyancy control. Avoid kicking and damaging coral or kicking sand over coral. 5. Most importantly, always be aware of your dive time, depth, air, no decompression limits and surroundings. Don't get so focused you forget to dive safely. Equipment you'll need includes your normal scuba or snorkeling gear, but don't forget you can practice by going to public aquariums like Aqua in Perth while staying dry. You'll also need a dive slate and pencil, fish ID reference materials such as ID slate, books and websites. A basic underwater camera, such as a GoPro or a TG7, can also be really useful, but not essential. And most of all, you need a sense of fun and an interest in fish. As we mentioned, there are more than 21,000 species of fish globally. Fish can be found from the deepest caves and oceans to the highest mountain lakes. In short, fish are amazing. We will learn how to recognize a number of key families, which work both in the tropics and temperate areas. This is useful since Western Australia is split into 4 distinct bioregions, from cold water in the south, to Mediterranean in the middle, to tropical in the north. We'll also learn how to recognize and describe some key identification features such as patterns, spines, fins, colors, etc. Let's talk about the methodology or strategy of underwater fish ID dives. Most of the fish belong to a few families, so what we want to do is focus on common characteristics. We'll use a dive slate and perhaps a fish ID slate, and we'll divide the boxes one each family group. We look for unique ID features and we note those in the family box. Leave space as well for sketching an unknown fish. Use really broad, silly little sketches like an alpha sketch, for a fish. Remember to be passive. Don't chase the fish. Relax. Sit still. Sit in one place. You'll see more fish, and if you don't act like a threat, they'll come to you. Record the shape and the family of the fish, the colour, the markings, the size, and also the relative abundance. We'll go into that in a second. Sketch these markings on a simple fish outline, or if it's not a simple fish outline, draw a very simple fish outline different from that one, like a long fish or a short fish, and sketch the bars or stripes onto that little outline. Record relative abundance, what you see, but use a simple code. Reef uses 0 for none, S for single, meaning 1, F for few, 2 to 10, M for many, 11 to 10 individuals, and A for abundant, more than 100. So basically think few, many, lots, few, many, abundant. It's fun and rewarding to join in citizen science projects. PADI AWARE has partnered with reef.org, who have a global survey project going on using roving diver technique that you can join in. Visit reef.org and do their training for your region and join in. There are other projects too, like Reef Check, Red Map app, where you can report sightings, and the IndoOceanProject.org. Now let's talk about basic fish anatomy, their overall design, and the parts of fishes. There are 4 approaches to body shape that different fish evolved based on their niche in the ecosystem. 1 is acceleration. 2 is economical long-distance cruising. 3 is maneuverability. Or 4, look like a stereotypical fish, like a jack, somewhere in the middle that can do a bit of everything. There's also a 5th approach, not really shown here, and that's camouflage and defensive venom, like a stonefish or a scorpionfish. Sit there, be unseen and ambush. But in general, these 3 drivers act on fish as evolution. Next, we'll look at parts of a fish, for both bony fish and sharks, which are cartilaginous fish, meaning they have cartilage instead of bone. The dorsal fin is on the top of the fish's back, and it helps oppose the action of the tail side to side, like a keel on a yacht, and turns side-to-side motion into forward motion. It prevents the fish from sliding sideways so it can move forward. The second dorsal fin does similar and helps provide lateral stability, side-to-side stability, for the fish. In most fish, the tail provides the main forward thrust for the fish, although some, like wrasses, use their pectoral fins instead for cruising. The shape of the tail varies a lot with the design of the fish. For example, the dewfish on the right has an oar-like paddle, while the shark has an airplane-like tail for cruising. Here we see some common tail types, from continuous tail fish like a cobbler, which almost looks like an eel, through to lunate tails for fast-moving tuna, very small fins, hydrodynamically efficient, or small like the fins on a fast air-to-air missile because they move so fast, and therefore require low drag. Like the tail, the pectoral fins are specialized for different lifestyles. A fish like the dewfish on the right can maneuver well while hovering with its fins and even go backwards, while a shark's fins are more like airplane wings, and they aren't for going backwards but create lift to overcome its weight. The caudal fin also acts like a keel, helping the fish swim in a straight line. Not all fish have anal fins, but in some, like sharks, they act like another pair of pectoral fins, creating lift and supporting it when swimming. The lateral line is a line of small holes linked to nerve cells that allow fish to feel the movement of the water and the pressure waves and vibrations of fish around them. Gills allow fish to breathe. They have a number of plates filled with capillary blood vessels that can allow oxygen to be absorbed into the blood and at the same time allow waste gases like carbon dioxide to be removed from the blood as the water passes over them. Like everything else, fish's mouths are shaped by their lifestyle and their feeding patterns. Some of them have mouths that face up, called superior mouths, that is if they feed on the surface. Others have downward facing mouths for feeding on the bottom. Others have a mix with a mouth at the end called a terminal mouth. Eyes are another full topic that could be discussed in depth, that it also is shaped by their evolution and niche. But for now, we'll just stick with an eye as an eye. But what do you call a fish without an eye? Well, that's a fish. And no, I didn't create this entire video just so I could crack that gag. Let's look at some of the types of markings we find on fishes so that we can describe them and record them later for identification. Bars are vertical lines, like those seen on old wives on top and the moonlighter below. Stripes, by contrast, are horizontal lines, like those seen on the back half of this West Australian dewfish in the bottom, or on these stripy sweeps up above. Bands are diagonal lines in either direction and are usually thick. This is a footballer sweep, named such because its colours look like a footballer's jersey. A saddle looks like a horse's saddle in the crook between the tail and the body. A spot is a round solid spot, usually on the tail but can be elsewhere. This is a butterfly fish. An ocellated spot is a solid spot with a ring or line around it. This is another type of butterfly fish. Lines are finer than bands or stripes. There can be few or many. Blotches are irregular dark marks, like spots but not round and irregular. Speckles are smaller and are large numbers of round spots, usually smaller than a large single spot or speckle, and maybe different sizes. Spectacles are lines around a fish's eyes. They usually radiate out from the eye. Remember, these are just guidelines to help you describe and recognize key identification features and to sketch and record those features. I've compiled a list of great references for West Australian and West Coast fish identification. Some are books and some are free references, including a free online book. Pause the video and check out these references later. Here are some of my favourite references though. The Perth Coast Fish Book and Rottnest Island Fish Book by Alex Hoschka and Glenn Wisson are written specifically for this area. Small and handy and very well priced. I can't recommend them enough. Several of my photos are in the Perth book. See if you can spot them. Hint, look under grey nurse sharks and wobbegongs. If you're going to tropical Western Australia, then the Ningaloo Marine Life ID guide is the one you need. The definitive professional guide is probably Swainston's Fishes of Australia. Swainston is a naturalist and artist based in Fremantle. He has amazingly detailed paintings. This book is huge, weighs a couple of kilograms and costs over $100, but is worth every single cent. The Perth Fish Book is free online and is published by Western Australia Marine Science Institution. It's a great resource, but some of the photos are unclear and not as good as the Perth Fish Guide or Swainston's, but it's free and it's still very good and has great drawings. As we discussed earlier, to help identify fish, we split them into a number of simpler groups so we know where to look in the fish guides, and we have an initial starting point in our heads that we can build on by looking for key ID features to search for. This list uses 12 main groups. It's not perfect, it's a bit broad, but it works to get you going. This grouping of 12 is based on PADIs, and has been chosen as it overlaps well with their PADI AWARE Fish ID specialty course. Western Australia is split into 4 bioregions according to the Department of Fisheries marine biologists. There's a lot of overlap between them, such as when tropic fishes come down to Perth in the summer with the tropical Lewin current. But generally it works well as a model. Group number 1 are butterfly fish, angelfish, surgeonfish, tangs, sweeps and old wives. They're generally disc-shaped and thin, and they're usually colourful and patterned and often have a spot at the back. The western talma is a butterfly fish endemic to Australia. It's found from South Australia round to Exmouth in Western Australia and is seen on most dives off Perth. They're territorial and form pair bonds. They pick off small worms, crustaceans and algae with their long snouts. The West Australian butterfly fish is native to the western side of Australia. They have an ocellated spot at the top of their fin, which tends to disappear as they grow up. It mimics an eye to confuse predators. They grow up to 16 centimetres, live in subtropical and tropical zones over rocky reef and kelp beds. They pick off small crustaceans and algae with their small pointy mouths. The moonlighter is a sweep. It's found on rocky reefs from South Australia to Southwest Australia, and it can grow to up to 40 centimetres and has 6 black vertical stripes. Footballer sweeps are colourful small sweeps, often found in large numbers over reefs at Rottnest and on the west coast. They live in the subtropical zone, eat algae, and grow to a maximum of 20 centimetres. They get their name as their bands look like an Aussie Rules footballer's jersey. They are curious and a frequent friendly companion to divers. Stripies are tropical to subtropical and can be found from Japan right the way across to Hawaii and down to Augusta at the southwest corner of Australia. They like reefs, caves, jetties. They feed on small crustaceans and algae, and they form big schools. These ones are being filmed inside Aqua, the aquarium of Western Australia. Wonderful place to go on a wet day when you can't go diving. It's also the perfect place to go and practice your fish watching because you have all the time in the world and you're not short of air. Old wives were classed with butterfly fish but have been given their own classification now in science. They look like Amazon freshwater angelfish you might have seen in aquarium shops. They form mated pairs and are territorial. They have venomous spines like lionfish but are very placid. They get their name as when captured they grind their teeth making a noise said to be like that of an old wife. What can I say? They were named before political correctness. Spotfin butterfly fish or threadfin butterfly fish are a tropical visitor. They occasionally come down with the Lewin current from the north and can survive year-round on the north side of Rottnest Island, where this shot was actually taken, but usually they retreat back up north in the winter. Lined butterfly fish are beautiful, and they're fairly rare to see, but apparently they do live all the way down to Mandurah and live all year round in this area. These ones were seen at the west end of Rottnest. Banded sweeps are found in the southern half of Australia in the temperate and subtropical zone, up as far as the Abralos. Surgeonfish are interesting. We don't really have surgeonfish in the west coast bioregion around Perth, except really as visitors from Coral Bay, maybe occasionally. They have a spine at the base of their tails, said to be as sharp as a surgeon's scalpel, which is where they get their name from. Group number 2 are jacks, sometimes called trevally, barracuda, porgy, bream and chub. These guys are usually silver and they're fast and they have ray-shaped fins. Silver trevally, commonly called skippy, form schools over weed and are hunters. They can grow to 1.2 meters and 18 kilograms, but typically are 35 to 60 centimeters. They live in the subtropical to temperate region from the north of Perth all the way round to New Zealand and up some of the east coast. Snook or pike is a member of the barracuda family, but a small one. It likes colder water and grows to about 1.1 meters or 5 kilograms, and is often found over weed and seagrass in schools. Buffalo bream are not actually a bream, they're actually a chub. There are 2 species in Perth. Western buffalo bream is smaller and subtropical, while silver drummer is temperate and gets up to 80 centimeters, forming large schools. They eat algae and are territorial, and actually farm algae and look after it so it grows. The pink snapper or Australasian snapper is not actually a snapper, which is the family Lucidinae, at all, but it's a porgy. It's found in subtropical and temperate Australia, New Zealand, East Asia, Japan, China, Taiwan. It's a popular table fish, and the ones shown here with blue spots are juveniles. Our third group are snappers, emperors and grunts, sometimes called sweet lips. They're average looking fish in the middle of that specialisation chart, good at everything, often with toothy mouths, sloping foreheads and sometimes big lips. Mostly you get more different types of snapper up north, like mangrove snapper. We don't have a lot down here, given that the big snapper we have down here is actually a porgy, the pink snapper. The western striped grunter is rarely seen by divers. It lives in the subtropical zone of a sandy-bottomed seagrass and likes invertebrates. The male guards the eggs and forms large schools. We do, however, find gold-spotted sweet lips. Although they're from the tropical area, they're regularly here in the subtropical. They eat invertebrates and fishes, live around the kelp beds and rocky reef, and they form pairs to breed. While emperors do go down as far south as Augusta, they're rarely seen in Perth. This one, as at the west end, looks like a spangled emperor. Our fourth group are damselfish, chromies and hamlets. Most of these are small, they school in large numbers over the top of reefs and are often quite colourful or patterned. Black-headed chromie are pretty little damselfish, and they can often be found in small to medium schools over the top of reefs and are quite distinctive. They're great to sit back and watch as they dance over the top of the reef. West Australian chromies have a greenish silver colour with a green top. They can be found in medium-sized schools over the top of rocky reefs, but sometimes in vast schools during breeding season. Scaly fins are also commonly known here as bugger-offs, as these pugnacious little fish defend their territory in eggs and get right in your face with the bravery of a terrier. They are harmless and actually kind of cute and charismatic, if occasionally annoying. They grow to 50 centimetres, forming pair bonds. The male guards the eggs, and they eat algae and live over rocky reefs in the subtropical zone. Our fifth group is large and quite diverse, of groupers, sea bass, basslets, sea perch and other perciform fish. These fish have spines, are mostly coloured, camouflaged or have some silver. Pomfrets are small diamond-shaped and silver with yellow fins. They often form huge schools on the same reefs and in the same part of the reef. You can navigate by them. Latin name is Schuetta woodwardi. They don't actually yet belong to a taxonomic family, but are perchiforms, so they're included here. The West Australian dewfish is endemic to Western Australia. They reach from Shark Bay to Esperance. They grow to 1.2 metres, live to 40 years, and are probably one of the most delicious tasting fish anywhere. Consequently, they're at risk of overfishing, and there's currently a boat fishing ban to allow stocks to return. Black-banded sea perch. This little sea perch actually belongs to the same family as Anthias, which we'll see later. There are 8 species in this family, 6 of them endemic to Australia. This one lives in the temperate zone, growing to 30 centimetres and hunts on rocky reefs. It often likes to sit and perch on prominent areas, with its big bug eyes looking out for predators, but also looking out for food. It's an ambush predator and attacks from below, and eats a lot of small fish and crustaceans. Some key ID features are it's got red and white bands, looks like a little grouper, and a big black blotch in the middle. The western blue devilfish is one of my favourite fish on many dives. They're beautiful fish. These devils live in temperate zones to the subtropical zone, and they can grow up to 33 centimetres, living in ledges and holes. The male guards the eggs. They're often quite shy and will disappear when you first approach, but if you stay still, they'll come back out to see you and let you sit still and photograph them. Harlequin bass look the part of a predator with a sharp, toothy grin. They look like a typical grouper. They hide under ledges and will grab all sorts of prey, such as footballer sweeps. They live in temperate zones and grow to 75 centimeters and will eat things that can barely fit in their mouth. Antheas live in the tropical zone, hovering over the top of reefs, snapping up food. They're basslets. Not normally found off Perth unless they're a visitor. These ones are at Aqua. Popular amongst anglers as it's excellent eating, the King George whiting grows to 72 centimetres and up to 4.8 kilograms. It's found in temperate waters across southern Australia from Jurien Bay all the way round the south to Botany Bay on the east. Sand whiting is a common species for anglers. It's not often seen by divers as it's usually over sand and in uninteresting diving areas. They can grow up to 21 centimetres. Breaksea cod are another typical looking grouper. They're a small species of grouper found over rocky reef. They grow to 56 centimetres and live in the temperate zone. They can be very curious and will warily approach divers if you sit and wait, usually disappearing quickly and then coming back. Red-lip moorwongs can often be found lying on the bottom, just sitting there waiting, and will let you get quite close until they disappear off. They like rocky reef and kelp beds. They grow to 40 centimetres and eat invertebrates. They live in the subtropical and tropical zone. Crested moorwongs eat algae and invertebrates. They live on rocky reef and over sand bottoms in the temperate and subtropical zones and can grow to 60 centimetres. They're often seen off Perth, but this one is in Aqua because I didn't get a good photo of one recently. Dusky moorwongs can grow quite large, up to 1.2 metres. They like to live over rocky reef and seagrass in the temperate zone. They are large, big silver fish with big lips and will often let you get quite close to them and then back away. Group 6 are parrotfishes and wrasses. These are a wide group again, but one thing is common with all of them: they tend to swim with their pectoral fins. They're also usually quite colourful or patterned, and they usually graze either on algae or, in the case of parrotfishes, they graze on coral, and they poop out sand. So most of the sand you see on a beach came at some point or other from parrotfish. They also have beaks or hard incisors, front teeth. A great many of them are hermaphroditic, meaning they start out as females and change to males later in life. Not all, but most. Maui wrasse can grow to 40 centimetres. They live over sandy bottoms around reefs. They're named due to the blue lines on their face, like a Maori warrior's tattoos. They also are hermaphrodites. Foxfish are actually a wrasse, though they look more like a grouper or snapper. These charismatic and curious red fish are often companions on dives, following divers in caves. They usually mate, and again are hermaphroditic, but will be following round with their mate, one male, one female. Foxfish are very curious and will often approach the divers and follow them around through a lot of the dive, at least the bits that they're in the caves or somewhere sheltered. They usually, as you kick up the sand, they're looking for bits of food disturbed by the diver. Cleaner wrasse eat invertebrates and plankton. They live over coral reef and rocky reef in the tropical and subtropical zones. They are also hermaphrodites and grow up to 14 centimetres. They have a very distinctive stripe and an undulated up and down swimming pattern. These distinctions act as advertising. It stakes out a prominent patch of reef and advertises a presence. Fish, including big ones enough to eat it, will often come and get cleaned, and the wrasse will eat the parasites in a symbiotic relationship, often going right inside their mouth and gills to get the parasites. Scribbled wrasse can grow to 31 centimeters and live in subtropical and subtropical areas. They like kelp beds and rocky and coral reefs, and these fish have pretty blue scroll lines and blue diamonds. Bald-chin gropers are a popular table fish, but despite their name, they're a wrasse, not a groper. They can grow to 90 centimeters and live on reef and kelp beds in the subtropical zone. They eat invertebrates. Western king wrasse are seen everywhere, often following behind divers' fins where they stir up the bottom. They form large schools. They're hermaphrodites, like most wrasses described here, and can reach 40 centimeters, and the dominant males are a distinctive red with a big crest. Here is a brief shot of a dominant male. Red band wrasse are another common wrasse that can grow to 18 centimeters and live in temperate and subtropical waters. It's also hermaphrodite and eats invertebrates. The males can look a little bit like small perch. Group 7 are squirrel fishes, big eyes and cardinal fish. Most of these fish have big eyes, most of them school, most of them have upturned superior mouths. A number of species of squirrel fish can be found. Usually they live deeper but can occasionally be found shallow. Bullseyes are often a good indication that there's a cave nearby, sometimes big enough for divers. They live in reefs and caves in the temperate and subtropical zones. There are two main species, rough and big-scale bullseyes. Western striped cardinal fish are often found in small crevices and ledges on rocky reefs in the temperate and subtropical zones. They can grow to 8 centimeters, they form mated pairs, and the males will nurture the eggs in their mouth as mouth brooders. Gobbleguts are found in the subtropical zone, and they grow to a maximum of 12 centimeters and also are mouth brooders. Group number 8, blennies, gobies and jawfish. These are often small, colourful, and they're long and thin. Grubfish are small blennies. They walk on their pectoral fins on the bottom. Living in kelp beds and rocky reef in the subtropical zone, they can grow to 24 centimeters. Fire dart gobies are only really found in the tropical zone as you get up towards Ningaloo Reef. Blue-lined hula fish are small, colourful and long fish which form small aggregations close to the reef. They can grow to 8 centimetres and the males guard the eggs. They live in the temperate zone and we regularly see them out around the reefs of Perth. In the background here there's an old wife and some bullseyes. Yellow hula fish are similar to the blue and can grow to 15 centimeters. Group number 9 are flounders, scorpionfishes, lizardfish and frogfish. All of these live on the bottom. The scorpionfish, lizardfish and frogfish all have upturned mouths and stay on the bottom and are ambush hunters. Flounders are camouflaged and flatfish that lie on the bottom in the sand. Some, like scorpionfishes, lionfishes and stonefishes, also have very venomous spines. There are a number of different lizardfish around the region. The greater lizardfish can get as big as 60 centimeters. They lie on the bottom as ambush predators and eat fishes, crustaceans and squid. Scorpionfishes are also ambush predators. They lie camouflaged on the bottom waiting to attack. They are part of the Scorpindae family, which includes lionfish and stonefish. They have venomous spines in their back and often don't move and can sting divers if trodden on, so be careful. Lionfish are graceful predators, members of the Scorpindae family. They have venomous spines and should not be touched. They are native to the Pacific and Indian Oceans and should not be killed. In the Atlantic, they have become an invasive species and people there are killing them, but do not try to do them here. They are needed here. They are also very beautiful and they can get you hurt if you're not doing it the correct way. So do not kill these guys. They have a part in our ecosystem. Unless you're in the Atlantic, then get rid of everyone you can. Flatheads are compressed fish, and they lie on the bottom, hidden in the sand, waiting to strike. They can grow up to 1 meter and weigh up to 18 kilograms. They are ambush predators. They are found pretty much all around Australia, but mostly in the subtropical and temperate regions. Group number 10 are filefish, triggerfishes, including leatherjackets, puffers, boxfish, cowfish, goatfish, trunkfish, trumpetfish, and drums. Triggerfish, many of them, they have a big spine on their back, like a trigger. Pectoral swimmers, most of them, and slow movers, and funny shapes and quite often colourful. Talking of funny shapes and colourful, one of my favourite fish is the white-barred boxfish. It's a distinctive fish, sometimes nicknamed the pumpkin fish or trump fish due to their tubby orange appearance. They are poisonous, so should not be eaten. They tend to swim with the pectoral fins and are quite curious of divers, but still wary. But you can get quite close to them after a while. They'll habituate you a little bit. They won't let you get too close, but you can get reasonably close. The West Australian seahorse is endemic to southwest Australia from the Abrolhos Islands to Rockingham. It lives on the edges of rocky areas on muddy bottoms and where there's murky waters and high sediments such as jetty pilings and moorings. They can reach 22 centimetres. There are a number of species of filefish, from tiny ones that are often found around seahorses in weed right up to large 30 to 50 centimetre species. They usually have a trigger spine on their back, and leather jackets are also sometimes called horseshoe leather jackets. Are a stunning blue and yellow fish with a distinctive C-shaped mark in the middle of their flanks. They grow to about 51 centimetres and are found from the Abrolhos south round to Tasmania in the temperate zone. Blue-lined leather jackets live in the temperate zone over rocky reef and kelp beds and can grow to 34 centimetres. They feed on algae and invertebrates. Goatfish have long whiskers or barbules underneath their chin that makes them look like a goat. They use them to sift through the sand for food. They live in the tropical and subtropical zones, forming small schools in many habitats and can get to 50 centimetres. Their barbules actually have taste sensors on them so they can taste the food in the sand with the whiskers. Group 11, eels. We don't really get many eels around Perth and the west coast zone, but as you get north into the tropics you do get more morays. Occasionally you might find a moray in the Perth area. This moray here is actually from the east coast. I couldn't find a photo I could use. But we sometimes see greyface or undulate, which are also grey morays, and they can be found from Shark Bay north. Group 12 are sharks and rays, one of my favourite groups. These are all cartilaginous fish. They don't have any bones, they just have cartilage. If you touch your nose or your ears, that's what cartilage is, no bones. They also don't have a swim bladder. They need to keep moving or they sink. Most of their buoyancy comes from, about 80% of the buoyancy comes from the oil in their livers. The rest comes from their wings, the pectoral fins, and acting as wings and giving them lift, or the wings if they are rays. I love elasmobranchs, or sharks and rays as the family is known. Don't be scared, but be respectful. It's very rare to see sharks other than friendly ones like the grey nurse, Port Jacksons or wobbegongs. In over 500 dives in Perth, I've only seen 2 or 3 other sharks around the place, and then only briefly. Boaters are far, far more of a danger. Here we see my 14-year-old daughter swimming with a grey nurse shark, which is probably my favourite shark. You can find them in ledges and caves, in reef and in open water. If you see one, you're very lucky. They are very placid fish-eating sharks, and they will accept divers as just another shark like they are, if you relax and don't swim to them, or they will swim away. They grow up to 3.3 meters and look fierce, but are actually fish eaters. And look for the 2 dorsal fins and the snaggly teeth. In fact, in South Africa they're called raggy-tooth sharks, and sand tigers in the UK and America. There are some dive sites where at certain times you can have up to a dozen around you. They're very polite sharks, sadly threatened due to spearfishing in the late 1960s. Also, you can see them at Aqua and pay to dive with them in at Aqua, and I'd highly recommend it. It's fantastic. Port Jackson sharks are cute little bottom-dwelling sharks. They have 2 spines on their back and one of the most ancient families predating dinosaurs. They eat shellfish and invertebrates, and they can grow up to 1.65 meters. Bronze whalers or copper sharks are rarely far away from you. They're a fairly common shark that spear fishermen often see, but they rarely approach divers, often only passing by briefly. They look similar to other whalers like dusky and bulls. They are also a cold water shark, generally living along the south coast. Giant smooth stingrays are seen fairly often on dives. These lovely fish are curious and love to follow divers who are catching lobster, hoping for a feed. They can grow up to 4.3 meters. Don't be scared of them, but be cautious because they do have a large sting in the tail. But they're not aggressive. It's purely a defensive measure. If they feel you're a bit too close, they'll put their tails up and warn you, and they always try to move away first. But mostly they'll come right up to you if you stay still and they are in a calm mood. They're listed in one of the books here as the world's largest stingray. However, it may be beaten by the Mekong freshwater stingray now. They live in the temperate zone, and at Hamelin Bay near Augusta there's a beach where they will swim right around your feet. Fiddler rays are a shark-like ray, the front half ray, the back half shark, with gorgeous markings. They are rare to see. They like sandy bottom and seagrass in temperate waters. They eat invertebrates and grow to 1.45 meters. Masked stingarees are small stingrays that grow up to 47 centimeters. They live in the subtropical zone, often around reefs over sand and seagrass. They are sandy coloured with a brown mask. They also have a sting in the tail, so don't touch. There is another similar one called a striped stingaree with the same mask markings but a darker mask, and they're more grey than sandy. They grow a little bit bigger and are more in the temperate zone and in rocky reefs rather than the sandy bits. The spotted stingarees are much rarer to see, often hiding in alcoves. They may be more nocturnal. They have a beautiful leopard spot pattern. Blue spotted ribbon-tailed stingrays and blue stingrays are pretty stingrays found in the tropical zone from Shark Bay north only, but they're found all over the tropical Indian Ocean and into the South China Sea. There is also more diamond-shaped blue-spotted stingray that is found in the tropics but sometimes might visit south of Shark Bay. Remember, diamond-shaped is blue-spotted stingray and the round ones are the blue-spotted ribbon-tailed stingrays, again in the tropics. Shovel-nosed rays are rare and often endangered. They're another shark-like ray. They live in mud and sand around reefs, and if you see one, fantastic. Thanks for watching. If you've got this far, I hope you enjoyed it. Watch out, I'll try and update this later on with some better photos as I gradually get more Fish ID photos. I also hope later to do an underwater naturalist video and some more on fish spotting, particularly doing it out in the wild and how it's done. So watch out for later series of this. And if you have any good footage that we could use of fish that we don't have or don't have good video stills for that you'd be happy to let us use for a photo credit, please drop me a message. In the meantime, hope you've enjoyed it, and thanks for watching. And join us again, like, subscribe and follow Aquatic Australia.